Weather can go from dangerous to deadly in seconds. It can turn a school planted years ago, its roots growing in the earth as children grow along with it, into nothing but a field of dirt. Homes, once places full of countless memories, can be blown away in a single evening. Arkansas and West Tennessee felt the brutality of nature 1 year ago on March 31st, 2023, when severe storms and deadly tornadoes swept through the area. I'm Chief Meteorologist Danielle Moss, and for the next half hour, we're looking back at the storms and how the affected communities are moving forward a year later. Communities like Wynne, Arkansas, where one tornado ripped through the heart of the city of 8,000 people around 5 p.m. 4 people were killed. The weather devastated Wynne High School, home of hundreds of students. Meteorologist Trevor Burchett spoke to the principal of Wynne High and a student about how they restored a sense of normalcy when their school became unrecognizable.
The National Weather Service now saying tornado damage threat is considerable. This is kind of a more rare warning. Seek shelter now. A confirmed tornado now at 9 miles southwest of Wynne. Wynne, I really I need you in your tornado safe place right now.
I was out of school that day, but I remember all my friends being at school texting me and they were like, school's letting out early today. And I was actually at home and I could see like from my house the storm coming, and it was terrifying like to see it, and you couldn't get into Wynne, couldn't get a hold of anybody, couldn't call anybody, you didn't know if anyone was okay.
We're there just hoping it all's well, and then the calm after the storm, and I go upstairs expecting nothing to be there, and house looks normal, go out the front door, and about that time I had a coach and his wife, or actually two of them, that had gone to the old high school, the gym. They said the high school's gone. It's just kind of like, well, what do you do? Where does it start? And, just looking around the neighborhood and seeing the destruction and the sirens and everything, and never forget the images of people just with their suitcases and just trying to find a place to go.
I came into town the next day. We drove past the school. It was just a really surreal moment. It doesn't feel like real life. We just saw our school completely destroyed. I could see into my math class. It was like senior year really came to a complete stop sooner than we all wanted it to.
Not a whole lot of rest the first 24, 48 hours, I can say. I sent a text message out to the staff, just kind of, is everybody okay? How is everybody? Get a checkup. I'm like, what do we do now?
You don't know what to do in that situation. It's like, we're supposed to walk across the field in a month and a half, and we don't have a field to walk across.
The first thing, seeing the football field and seeing the turf gone. That's being an old football coach and knowing how much that turf weighs, and knowing that it was picked up and later finding out it was found across the river 80 miles, 100 miles away. That was amazing. And then the next thing, is hoping that people in town were okay, hoping our students and our staff were okay.
So I know my friend and I, we went to Walmart and we got waters, Gatorades, and went around to all the crews that were working on power lines and the tree crews and everything. And just being together, just going out and being in the community, being with your community, that really helped a lot.
So you get everybody together the next day, I assume teachers, staff. What is that conversation like? I know you mentioned trying to get some relics and diplomas, graduation's coming up.
Everybody just kind of banded together, and then we were all hands on deck, and then kind of organizing the assembly line of getting things out. We even had some students and people from the neighborhood coming up, and just everybody pitched together, and we had, lines of kids helping up here getting things out of the school. We had people working at the junior high helping with meals and things like that. That outpouring of support was amazing to see that.
After salvaging what they could from the school and moving classes to a nearby community college, the time came to plan for senior graduation.
This is their senior year. This group has gone through COVID. They'd experienced the shutdown. They experienced the next year where most kids didn't come back on site. So how do we give them that senior experience and finish that year out?
I feel like we had a great graduation because none of us knew about the numbers that were going to be cut out of our field.
The turf, some of the yard lines were left, and we were able to cut out a 3. And then we're like, well, let's try to find a 2. And it's just had to be a miracle in itself, as over in the corner where some of the turf was mangled and still together, there was a 2. And we were able to get the 2, so we laid out the 2 and the 3, and the graduates, as they came in and walked in, they all got to walk over a piece of home.
My senior class, everything for us revolved around our football field. Friday nights were where our class like really came together. It was really nice to just have that small piece of like our home in Jonesboro with us whenever we graduated. It's like, man, I'm grateful for these 4 years that I did have here. Like, I'm grateful that I got to be a part of it, but it's gonna be different now. Like, it's crazy how different things are gonna be now.
Once the class of 2023 graduated, focus shifted to planning and constructing a temporary school building, one that could be used for several years while a new permanent school was constructed.
I mean, we kind of divided and conquered, and people stepped up to the challenge and really came together to get that done because it was a daunting task. Our staff was phenomenal, but it's good to be home. It's good to know that we have a place for the next couple of years and to see the process and the planning of the new school and what does that look like and so forth.
By the first week of September, students filled the walkways of the temporary Wynne High School. At first glance, it may look a little unusual. Students have class in glorified shipping containers, and the cafeteria and auditorium are in tents with PVC walls. But on the inside, it's just like any other school.
I said, this is all of our career classes. We've got our East Lab, broadcast. We have our teaching class, business classes.
A few buildings over, you'll find the gymnasium, complete with that Wynne yellow jacket at center court. Principal Meek said they're adding small touches to make this feel more like home.
Of course, when they put the awnings over and they've added the lights in the evening, and you kind of get a hallway feel as you come through.
Planning is well underway for the new permanent Wynne High School, expected to be completed by 2026. For now, the school site is an empty field, still full of memories.
Hopefully this fall we'll be able to break ground on the new school, and then from there it's an 18 to 24 month project. Right now we're focusing on the now and worried about what we got to do here to get these kids graduated, ready to be successful.
Wynne High School students are not the only ones trying to return to a sense of normalcy. 1/3 of the homes in the town were destroyed. ABC 24's Pepper Baker sat down with the Wynne mayor to discuss the difficulties people are facing while trying to get back on their feet.
We've lost 22 neighbors. I don't know where half of them are. I don't know if they'll ever come back.
Michelle McGill looks out at empty lots from her porch that 1 year ago were covered with debris from homes destroyed by an EF3 tornado. Today, you can still make out its path through Wynne, Arkansas, drawing a line between those properties and the homes still standing.
We're lucky enough not to lose our base house, but we lost everything around it. There's 2 blocks over, you can see the little, those reefs, that's where the 2 people died. Was just a house away from where we are. They found them on top of each other trying to shield. The man was trying to shield his girlfriend. So it's a sad situation.
The storm killed 4 people, hitting at the beginning of Mayor Jennifer Hobbs' second term. Facing the first natural disaster under her leadership, she sums up how the community feels 1 year later.
Resilient. We are making progress. Slower than some would like to see. This is the first time I've been through this rebuilding process, and I do think that it takes a lot of time. It literally cut our town in half. It started with our wastewater treatment facility on the west side of town, totally wiped that out, and then it hit neighborhoods, businesses, churches, more neighborhoods, and then out through the county and all the way through Tennessee.
Hobbs estimates it'll cost $22 million alone to rebuild the water distribution plant, in addition to the $125 million to build a new Wynne High School.
Right here was the main building that all of the visitors came through.
A lot of businesses and many people who don't have insurance are struggling to find ways to cover the cost to rebuild on their own. The tornado ripped from the west side of Wynne to the east side here, which is where I'm standing now. Houses that were once on these properties completely cleared. But Mayor Hobbs says within the last year, this is where they're seeing redevelopment happen at a faster rate.
We are seeing a lot of our properties that were rental properties that were hit by the tornado. We're not seeing those being rebuilt as quickly as we're seeing individual homeowners rebuilding their homes.
33% of the houses are gone, but when you lose use that many so fast in our neighborhood, I don't know if it's going to rebuild as quick. We were lucky enough to have good insurance.
Everybody that has been through it said, you know, it can take 5 to 6 years before you see full recovery.
Over the last year, there's been countless recovery efforts, help from volunteers, contractors, and a visit from Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So far, FEMA reimbursed the city of Wynne nearly $4 million for disaster relief. Mayor Hobbs estimates the total dollar amount of damage citywide easily crosses the $160 million line.
There's still families out there that need help, and that help is only based on the donations of people that come in. We're looking for people that have money, manpower, and resources to give to help those families. They should know that we're going to battle for them every day. We're looking for grant funding. We're helping push behind the scenes with Wynne Relief and Recovery.
Governor Sanders announcing new efforts to bring in state and federal relief money during her second visit to Wynne since the tornado hit.
We're also able to provide about $7 million in critical infrastructure funding, and we've been able to work with our partners at FEMA for an additional $10 million, all directed right here in Wynne.
Today, most of the damage is cleaned up, but several houses and businesses are still without roofs. Many people are still fighting with insurance companies to rebuild their homes. With a lot of work done, there's still a lot more to do. But one thing the tornado can't seem to break, the city's spirit. Is Wynne still the city with a smile?
It is still the city with a smile.
I smile every day, and I thank God every day for my community. So yeah, I think we are. I feel Wynne strong, and we will rebuild.
Around 6 p.m., the tornado continued across the river into Covington, Tennessee. There, one person lost their life and dozens were hurt. Many homes were torn apart, collateral damage among thousands of trees and hundreds of power lines. ABC 24's Yvonne Cooper spoke with the community still struggling to rebuild and one man who held on to faith when he was left with nowhere to turn.
You never know how much faith you have until you face what you have to face, a storm or a giant or a trouble. And I learned that no matter what life throws you in, we serve a God that get in it with you. He don't wait till you come out. You think about Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. They was thrown in the fire, but God got in that fire with them. And that's the God that I serve. He gets in it with you.
Dennis Taylor is a man of great faith. His faith was tested nearly 1 year ago.
March 31st, day that we'll never forget.
Now a tornado emergency for the city of Covington. This is the third one we have seen now. What that means, a life-threatening tornado that is moving into a populated area. This time it's Covington.
We got home, I took my mom to dialysis and I dropped her off. When I got home, the winds was very high. But when I pulled in my driveway, suddenly everything just ceased and got calm. And I was talking to my mom on the phone. I was like, hey, something's wrong. She said, what's going on? I said, everything then got quiet. The wind has ceased. She said, boy, something's about to happen.
Burnett Lane, Lindsay Road, if you are in the city of Covington, it's on you now. You've got to be in your tornado safe place. I want to try to give an early heads up for those of you that are still ahead of this. Covington, forget 601, it's right now.
My wife was standing in the door, the winds picked up. So I rushed to try to get in the garage. The wind picked me up and threw me in my garage. From there, I tried to enter into my home through the garage and to the kitchen, but the winds were so strong I couldn't get in. My son, he covers my wife. They go to do what they're always taught at school. When tornadoes and everything done, they practice what's already been planned. They got in the bathroom and he said, hey mom, everything's gonna be all right. God has us. Well, now I'm stuck in the garage and that's where I just put my trust and faith in God. You brought me to this, God, you'll bring me out of this. And 2 minutes later, my life was changed. My community was changed. The neighborhood rescue, 911, couldn't get to our area because trees was all over the place. But community came together. Neighbors came together. Didn't care what religion you were, what color you were. We was pulling people out of the rubbish. We were making sure everybody was okay. And finally got to a safe place that night. And I was with my brother. And the next morning, woke up, I heard that the schools was, not only my home was kind of destroyed, my schools that I work at was destroyed. So I rushed to get there, and I meet Dr. Combs, and I saw Dr. Morris, and we just like amazed at what we saw. And there, we began our recovery.
The place Dennis called home was nearly unrecognizable. Dennis was renting this home. Shortly after the repairs, the homeowner increased the rent. In addition to everything they lost in the storm, the Taylor family could not afford to stay.
We're still displaced, but we're not out of God's grace. I've been with my mom for the last year. We're staying in Atoka. Unfortunately, I did lose the house, and still with my mom. And right now, we're still looking for a place to live right now.
The Taylor family is one of many still picking up the pieces. Covington Mayor Jen Hensley believes losing that many homes all at once made the recovery more difficult for some, highlighting a housing shortage in town.
Right now, the limited thing I think that's kind of slowed everything is the lack of contractors. You know, our area just needs more contractors and getting revved up for Blue Oval, so there was already, you know, the workforce was already over there doing stuff. So, and Covington's already a community right before the storm that we were already working, trying to get development here, and we're so far behind on the housing market here. We need development, and to start developments in this area, it takes nearly a 3-year process to get everything planned out, zoned, roads built, the community starting to build up.
That is all a part of the city's 2024 rebuilding plan. Leaders turning vacant lots into family homes.
Because the more housing you can get, the more attainable it is. And, you know, it's supply and demand. If we get our supply up and, you know, demand remains the same, then things should level out better.
Soon, crews will build a new police station with an 800 square foot storm shelter in case this ever happens again.
Hopefully we never have a tornado rip through and do this, but we do. People will have and know the places they need to go and have a place to go to feel safe. You know, because in tornadoes, it's only a few minutes. Here's the thing, from the time this thing landed, not just in Tipton County, but really well in the Brighton area and ripped through before it got out of Covington, you're talking about 5-6 minutes, the total effects. So you don't have to get secured long, but you need a place to go, and we did not have a place to go.
So while this storm is far from over, for Dennis, he clings to hope.
We was a broken community, but still, we was a blessed community. Because no matter what we went through, we were still here. And in fact, that let us know that God was with us.
Believing by faith, because just like the storm on March 31st, this too shall pass.
When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flames kindle upon thee. That's God's comfort and his promises. And his promises is one thing that you can keep. And I know God is going to take care of us. I know he's done it right now. And I know he's going to come through. I just believe in his promises.
The tornado ripped through homes and eventually made its way to Crestview Middle and Elementary, where students and faculty had their lives saved when school leaders took necessary precautions. ABC 24's Stephen Reels spoke with county leaders on how they made a life-saving decision.
Just thinking about my child would have been one of the many kids in this gym.
Crestview Middle and Elementary School. This thing's gonna be right on top of you.
For Tipton County School Superintendent John Combs, the thought of the March 31st, 2023 tornado brings back chills.
You know, as the weather was kind of coming in earlier that morning, it was kind of like, you know, every other inclement weather day. And that is that just kind of heads up, right? Let your bus drivers know, hey, y'all kind of be careful driving on the roads. Let us know if you see anything out of the ordinary, anything that concerns you. As the day progressed, you could see it was getting, even outside, it was kind of ominous, right? The more you looked outside, it was just getting darker and darker.
Tornado that is pretty much coming right into town. The south side of Covington now. Tornado absolutely on the ground, positively without a doubt. College Street, Burnett Lane, Lindsay Road. If you were in the city of Covington, it's on you now.
When you have over 10,000 kids and 2,000 employees waiting for you to make a call, you know, it gets there's a little anxiety there, but you certainly want to err to the side of being safe.
If the school district had not erred on the side of caution and dismissed early, hundreds of lives at Crestview Elementary and Middle School could have been lost.
Just thinking about if they hadn't let the kids go early, you know, if SACC had still been here, my child would have been one of the many kids in this gym.
Do we know how many kids could have potentially been in there?
Oh, it would have been well over 250 at least.
For those of you that are still ahead of this, Covington, forget 601, it's right now.
When the watch had kind of intensified and we could see the weather kind of showing that pattern, and even, you know, when I called National Weather Service and talked to EMA director, and they're like, yeah, you know, John, it's looking pretty rough. Not just the buildings, it's the buses. So, you know, we have like 160 buses drive over 6,000 miles a day to take kids all over this county. And those are real high profile vehicles, and the wind, you know, the wind's kind of nasty, especially when it hits them broadside. So that was a big piece of it as well.
This realization rattled the community the morning after.
That's a lot of young life, you know, to be lost. I'm glad they made that safe decision.
When teachers, families, and students saw what little remained of their schools.
I would have had family, you know, in the buildings. So we dodged that catastrophic situation. So very humbling, if you will, knowing that not only were lives spared, but family members, my personal family was spared.
Hit the last day of March, April 1st, April Fool's Day of all things, was the first day that we got to really, in daylight, see the damage that had been done to those schools. And it was, I mean, it was gut-wrenching.
For decades, Crestview served as a cornerstone of Tipton County, where generations of families like Stephanie Bird's walked the hallways.
And it's just heart-wrenching for all of us that have grown up going there and seeing it like it was. It broke our hearts.
Our entire family has gone to Crestview. The room that was torn off at the end of the elementary school was a classroom that we all went to, me and both kids.
Many were left asking, what now? The immediate need was preparing for end-of-year testing, which was quickly approaching.
The next steps were simply, you know, so what are we going to do? You know, this is less than 48 hours, you know, from a tornado demolishing 2 schools and the pressures of what's next. What are we going to do?
Testing was going to happen in about 2 or 3 weeks, state testing. And so we had to figure out a plan to get all them tested. We tried to get that waived. We requested that the state waive our testing, and they did not. The governor is the only one who has the power to do that, and that was not waived. So we figured out another way to do that, and we kind of rotated them in shifts through Covington High and Charger Academy and some other areas to get them tested.
Then 2 temporary schools were needed by August. Could the impossible be finished?
Now, I did apply for a waiver for us to be able to virtual learn those kids, especially at the front end, in case we didn't have it done in time, right? And that was denied. I mean, the state denied that. So we couldn't virtual learn starting off the school year.
You know, we get moving, we get to tent schools, you know, not tents, the temporary structures.
Yeah. Once we had everything to meet the FEMA's procurement process, then the next steps were very aggressive. And that was when Service Master with Cornerstone came out on a 30-day timeline.
So we've worked really hard to get rid of that term tents, right? Because obviously the buildings are snow rated. They've been passed by the fire marshal, and the interior and the exterior, as you saw, are metal, insulated metal on both sides of it. And then the inside build out, concrete slab. The interior build out was what was going to take so long. Service Master by Cornerstone came in and they knocked it out. They had it ready for kids to start in August. I mean, it was literally 2.5 months, something like that, maybe.
The support that we were able to receive from the locals that in order to keep this pushing. And Service Master in turn was able to hit a deadline that no one believed was possible, and they actually beat it by 4 days. They finished that construction of the interior build out in 26 days.
Students could finally see their friends, their teachers, and a new place to learn.
I'm just so proud that they were able to just get us started for the school year.
Despite the storm's damage, the Covington community remains hopeful for the future.
The excitement of what's new, having a fresh start, and being able to enter into a building that otherwise these kids would have never had the opportunity to be educated.
I know that it'll probably take a while, but we'll be back stronger because of our community.
I know it's been hard. The parents and the students and the faculty have all been so patient because they're constantly thinking, it's an interim building. So there are things we have to constantly tweak to get things going. And it's not the optimal environment, right? We know that. But I guess I want to say more than anything, thank you for being patient because the end is coming and it's going to look nice. It's going to be one of the nicest school buildings in West Tennessee. And we're really excited and they deserve every bit of it.
This sign from Crestview saying goodbye to Covington, but on the other side, a message for the future. Now get ready for CMS 2.0.
Crestview is known as Crestview around here. Part of me wants to see it stay the same. On the same hand, you can't stay in the past. You can treasure the past, but there's no sense in staying in the past. So, time to move forward and on to bigger and better things.
With ABC 24, I'm Stephen Reels.
Around 8 p.m., the tornado moved from Covington to McNary County, which includes the town of Selmer, Tennessee. Multiple homes were destroyed. Around 2 hours later, a second tornado hit, killing 9 people across the county. This week, I spoke with the mayor of McNary County, along with a woman who was home when the tornado hit in Selmer and is in the process of rebuilding. On the night of March 31st, 2023, hundreds of people in McNary County's lives were changed forever. 2 tornadoes on the same path, causing damage, destroying more than 100 homes and claiming the lives of 9 people.
I have no idea why I was saved that day, but the Lord has a plan is all I know.
I really hate to say that again, but Bethel Springs, this severe thunderstorm warning is headed your way.
Patricia Davidson and her husband were enjoying an evening in their home when the storms began. They tried their best to take cover in the bathroom. However, the shelter wasn't enough for the winds.
The 142-mile-an-hour winds put me to my knee, picked me up, and sat me back down. I get emotional still talking about it.
Emotions are still very raw for Mrs. Davidson. She's dealing with the loss of a home and the loss of one of her longtime neighbors that died in the tornado that night.
When I go by her house, it hits all over again. When all you see is the brick around the front porch because everything else was gone. But then you stop and you think, God saved me for a reason. So you just pick up the pieces and you keep going.
McNary County Mayor Larry Smith also faced high emotions that night. He was on the ground with search and rescue after the first tornado touched down and had to rush out of danger to save himself.
So we were trying to get trees out of the road, people out of houses and so on like that. Well, we were working through that, and I'm still on the volunteer fire department, have been since 1987, and they set the page off for another storm coming through following the same path. So we went to the courthouse and sheltered and then went back out again, and lo and behold, the second storm was much stronger than the first one.
But the worst of the storm right now, currently moving through Bethel Springs, like I said it would be.
If you got 100 homes destroyed, now some of them have built back, some of them had insurance, some of them did not, and some of them didn't have enough coverage, that did have insurance. So in my opinion, that's why we put the long-term recovery group in place, because of the impact that McNary County experienced, and because we know this is not going to be a 1 year, 2 year, and probably not a 3 year. cycle to get everything back up and like it needs to be.
The tornado completely destroyed the Davidsons' house. While they thought they could rely on their insurance, it was not enough to cover their damages. It took more than 6 months, but the Davidsons eventually received help from a nonprofit Christian organization that rebuilds homes with no labor costs.
It took us 6 years to build it and took it 10 seconds to go away. They have started our house on January the 30th, and I'm supposed to be able to move in by or before April the 15th.
Mayor Smith has made sure tornado victims are getting help. Kim Banash is the director of Archives, a volunteer position that keeps tabs on all the displaced families around McNary County.
Boy, I think this is going to be a long-term process. There's no way that we can ever put it back the way it was. We can continue to work. I know I'll be working on this for at least another couple of years myself.
At least 5 other families have been lucky like the Davidsons. They have all started the rebuilding process thanks to the help of Good Samaritans.
So the northern thing is more, what can I get from you? What can I get from you? And I knew the generosity of people down here, but I never expected it to be what it's been.
We've got a long way to go, but we're not going to give up till we get there.
Thank you for watching these stories with us. As we remember the lives lost and the lives forever changed 1 year ago, we continue to support the communities still picking up the pieces. For a list of ways you can help the affected communities, follow the QR code on your screen. Remember, when it comes to severe weather, stay diligent, stay prepared, stay aware. For ABC 24, I'm Danielle Moss.